Hi, my name is Deborah Sprang, and I want to tell you about my once-in-a-lifetime trip I made by car from South Carolina to Montana. It took me 6 days, and I was amazed at the amount of vast open land to the left and right of me, going through all those states as I drove along. And I thought to myself, there must be some good use for all this open land. And it made me think about American farming. And I'd like to talk to you more about American farming. First off, I'm going to fill you in on some statistics about farming in the United States. 2/5 of all land in the U.S. is farmland. That's 915 million acres and 2.1 million farms and ranches. Just under 50% of the total area of the United States is uninhabited. This poses an opportunity to people interested in buying land to farm or to set up homesteading. But with this opportunity for farming and investment in farmland comes some startling developments that need to be addressed in a relatively short time span. First, the number of farms has decreased steadily over the past 20 years, posing a risk to the sufficiency of food production for Americans as the population grows, especially when you factor in the threat of climate change and its effect on farming. Second, agricultural officials claim the U.S. is quietly losing its remaining forests, grasslands, deserts, and natural places at a rate of every 30 seconds. Where the size of a football field worth of America's natural areas are converted to industrial, residential, and infrastructural development. Third, clean energy and the building of solar panels is becoming more prevalent and will compete with the space required for farming businesses and will affect our food supply. We need more farmers to replace the ones that left the industry in order to feed our growing population. I've included here a slide showing the 10 leading U.S. states based on the number of farms in 2021. As you can see, Texas outranks them all with 247,000 farms, and Missouri is second with 95,000 farms, a considerable drop. The other states in descending order are Iowa, Oklahoma, Ohio, Kentucky, Illinois, Tennessee, California, and Minnesota. I'll pause here for a moment for you to take a look. So you may ask, what are the top 10 produce crops in America? These are some of the most recognized crops in the country and are what most people imagine when they think of farming. The top 10 are those that are the most grown crops in the U.S., and they are also some of the best-selling crops. Among U.S. farms, including vegetable farms, row crop farms, and tree nut operations, the top 10 produce crops in the U.S., according to the USDA, are as follows. Number 1, corn. It is the most widely produced feed grain in the U.S., the majority of which goes towards feeding livestock. Over 90 million acres of corn are grown for feed, industrial products, and food and beverage products like cereal, alcohol, and sweeteners. Number 2, cotton. The U.S. is the world's third largest producer of cotton, one of the most important textile fabrics. The U.S. is the world's leading exporter of cotton, and the industry contributes $21 billion a year to the economy and generates over 125,000 jobs. Number 3, fruit. Many different fruits are grown in the U.S., including apples, berries, citrus, and melons. Together with the tree nut industry, the fruit industry contributes over $25 billion in farm cash receipts. Number 4, tree nuts. Tree nuts like almonds, pecans, walnuts, hazelnuts, and pistachios are grown many different places in the U.S. Along with the fruit industry, the tree nut industry makes up 13% of the total receipts for all agricultural commodities and 7% for all crops. However, both fruit and tree nut industries face competition from foreign imports. Number 5, rice. Rice is grown exclusively in the southern U.S. and California, with 3 different types of rice grown: short, medium, and long grain. The U.S. exports approximately half of its rice sales volume to global markets. Number 6, soybean and oil crops. The U.S. is the leading soybean producer and exporter in the world. Soybeans account for about 90% of U.S. oilseed production, but we also produce other oilseeds such as peanuts, sunflower seed, canola, and flax. Number 7, sugar and sweeteners. The U.S. is both one of the world's largest producers of sugar and other sweeteners and one of the greatest consumers. Sugars could come from sugarcane, sugar beets, and high fructose corn syrup. Number 8 is vegetables. The vegetable industry is comprised of a variety of sectors. It can be split into vegetables grown for processing and those grown for fresh market sales. The upper Midwestern states like Wisconsin, Minnesota, and Michigan, and Pacific states like California, Washington, Oregon grow the most acreage of vegetables for processing, while California, Florida, Arizona, and Georgia, and New York have the most acreage growing vegetables for the fresh market. Number 9 is pulses. Pulses include beans, peas, legumes, and peanuts. Along with the vegetable industry, pulses account for approximately 14% of U.S. cash crop receipts. And finally, number 10 is wheat. Wheat is the 3rd largest field crop in the U.S., both in acreage and gross farm receipts. About half of the U.S. wheat production is exported. And these top 10 crops are the reason why America is referred to as the world's breadbasket. You may have heard that term used. Of these top products, corn ranks first and second is soybeans. As with both of these products, they're both grown in primarily Midwestern states such as Iowa, Nebraska, Minnesota, Indiana, Illinois, and Kansas. Wheat ranks 3rd among U.S. field crops in planted acreage, production, and farm receipts. And in 2023, farmers are estimated, 22 and 23, farmers are estimated to have produced a total of 1.6 billion bushels of winter wheat, spring, and durum wheat from a harvested area of 35.5 million acres, which is a record low. Although the United States produces some oats, Canada is the world's largest oat exporter and supplies about 70% of the oats imported into the U.S. Potatoes make up the largest vegetable farming industry in the U.S., making up 15% of all vegetable sales, according to USDA. Most varieties of potatoes are better suited for colder climates, such as being grown in Idaho, Wisconsin, and Washington, and warmer varieties suitable for warmer climates grow in California, Texas, and Florida. On a global scale, just 15 crops provide 90% of global energy intake, and the big 4, maize or corn, rice, wheat, and potatoes, are staples for about 5 billion people. Such reliable, widespread crops are the basis of food systems and human substances. How is it possible for farmers and homesteaders to succeed? Flexible financing is the answer. As a farmer, you need financing that makes sense for your unique operation, and sometimes it can be difficult to find that cooperation from a bank or conventional lender due to rigid underwriting requirements and regulations. I'd like to introduce you to Ag America. As a non-bank lender, Ag America has greater autonomy over financing decisions. Ag America is regulated by the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission. It has access to government-backed capital and private equity, unlike local banks. This alternative to financing, that is hard money loans, give you the capital you need when it's difficult to secure a conventional loan. Ag-Amera can get you more capital quickly to meet debt obligations or for expanding your operation. Creating customizable loans will help transition you to obtaining conventional loans and setting you up for long-term success. So how do you prepare for the application process? First, you need to identify your different income sources and how they are distributed among expenses. The majority of family farms rely on off-farm income to support their operation. As of 2019, for example, 96% of farm households had off-farm income, and 82% of the total income on average was off-farm income. In addition to identifying your income sources, you also need to distinguish between family and business expenses. Create separate bank accounts for both family and farm expenses. Then you need to analyze your expenses in each category. An analysis can help ensure you have enough cash flow to service debt, pay for farm expenses, and provide for family needs and wants. Then you need to set your goals. Establish your goals together as a family, and these goals should include a timeline, money needed to achieve the goal, amount of money that needs to be saved monthly to achieve the goal. And after you establish your goals, designate how much of your farm income you want to set aside for family expenses. You may also need to allocate some of your off-farm income to farm expenses. Then finally, create a budget to monitor and control spending, both business and personal. When applying for a loan, the lender asks for federal tax returns, balance sheets, and income statements. Have your family and business living expenses readily available to expedite the loan approval process. In sum, following the above steps will help you to strategically manage both personal and operational expenses and prevent financial strain and confusion, which will help you succeed in the long run. To wrap up my talk today and to celebrate farming in the United States, I've made a small model of a homestead for you to see. I have some corn growing in the field. I have a barn and a fenced-in area for the cows and horses. I have some bales of hay to the front of the homestead and a red wagon for hauling supplies, tools, and equipment. I've made a few silos. A silo in our agriculture is an airtight structure that encloses and protects silage, which is partially fermented fodder called haylage if made from grass, and it keeps the fodder succulent and slightly sour, which farm animals like. And then I have a windmill. And homesteaders and ranchers and farmers were no longer dependent on natural water because they could drill wells and pump water with the windmills. Windmills were often their most prized possession. The water pumped by the windmills was used to cook, bathe, drink, water crops and animals, wash clothes, and more. To celebrate Christmas, I've made up some gift baskets for ladies to give to themselves or others as presents. Some of the items I've included are pet tile coasters, woodland themed cookie cutters, pet flour sack towels, roll-on essential oils, gemstones for meditation, and a long list of different lotions, lotion bars, soap bars, bath salts, and bath bombs scented with essential oils such as frankincense and myrrh, lavender, peppermint, avocado, honeysuckle, and lilac. For orders and sales assistance, please email me at bigskyaspirations@gmail.com. One final thing you may be asking yourself: why did I move from South Carolina to Montana? Well, I could not earn a living in South Carolina. I was not accepted by the majority of people living there. All the talk about inclusion and diversity in the news and elsewhere nowadays, it's about acceptance, accepting one another for who we are. That's not to say we approve of bad things people say or do. We need to stay away from those kinds of people. But accepting one another is essential for getting along with one another. Thanks for watching.